Hey guys, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto sent Hinata to hell, and she came back with a demon? If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Betrayal. That's all she could think. She was betrayed by the man she loved, her friends, her family. Now she lies in the murky, bloody waters, feeling broken and forgotten. It's been perhaps 350 days. Maybe more. She lost count after the first 100 days. The wind howled. She didn't know if it were the screams of the damned or actual wind. But she couldn't tell the difference anymore. The crooked dark trees loomed over her, and the crows that watched her fate mocked her. The sky above was painted red, and ugly clouds spread across the endless abyss. Yes, that's where she lied. In this endless abyss of hell. Until she dies. Over, and over, and over, and over, again. She doesn't know what day she gave up fighting. What day she stopped caring. When she lost her morals. Her endless life drowning in sorrow and agony. And her hate grew, day by day. Thud crash. It was coming, just like it always did after a couple of hours. Her dooming fate. But she did not budge. Nor blink an eye. Her skin has lost all of its color. She was pale as the ones that live in the ground. No longer a beautiful angel that glowed with purity and light. The light that was ripped away from her. Just like her wings. Thud crack. She breathed softly, barely breathing at all. Her tears have permanently stained her face. What day did she stop crying? Did she ever stop? She couldn't remember once again. Her long hair fanned out lifelessly. It looked darker than normal. She thought it was lighter before taking more of a blue tint. But now it looks as dark as her world that she now resides in. Thud snap. Her beautiful white gown that she wore was now painted red from the bloody lake she lies in. Her eyes see nothing. They are but empty, looking clear than white. Who was she? Could she even call herself Hinata anymore? If she could see herself, she would probably scream in horror. She was a stranger to herself. She had lost herself, days ago. Many more than that. But again, she couldn't remember. Crack ee. A beastly noise pierced the sky. Her death was but a few feet away from her. She saw its long spider-like legs that towered over the gruesome woods. And she welcomed it. Maybe this time, she'd actually die. She'd much prefer hell than whatever place this was. Maybe the devil wouldn't be as cruel. She closed her eyes and breathed deeply, taking in the salty and rotting air. Just a few more minutes. Or was the beast slower than that? She usually could tell when it was time. 20, 19, 18, 17. Stab. Bleg. She coughed up blood and watched as the ground where she lied moved away from her. The beast screeched in delight. She might have been a couple seconds off. She smirked as the blood from her pierced body dripped to ground. As the beast lifted her in the air to be devoured, she could have mistaken seeing a shadowy figure standing on the outskirts of the woods. She had never seen it before, but then again her mind could be playing tricks on her. It was the same outcome every time. Not once had she seen anything else in the first couple of hours before she died. Not unless she got up. How interesting. Collect. And everything was dark. Gasp. And there she was again. On the ground in the bloody lake. Awaiting to be devoured again. Is this day 351? She finally spoke with her cracked voice. She began to giggle maniacally to herself. For the first time she was surprised to hear another chuckle. It wasn't enough for her to get up or even bat an eye, but enough for her to raise a brow. I think this is day 451. A dark voice called. Really? My, she whispered. Maybe the voice was in her head. Nothing here speaks. They all screech and yip like beast. You are pretty interesting, you know that? The voice spoke again after a long while. I've been watching you. For maybe 50 days or so. You lie there. Die, then you lie there again. And well, you know the rest. Quite a life, isn't it? Yes, quite. Such a beautiful angel such as you, tossed away. He whispered as if to a child. Crack ee. Funny, she didn't even notice the beast was already upon her. So, are you going to die forever? Over and over again to that beast? He asked curiously. I've tried to leave once, twice, a few times. I always end up back here. Either I die to this beast or some other cruel, twisted beast that roams this dark place. Ah, such a sad fate. And what of those who betrayed you? The broken angel said nothing. All she could feel was rage. Her nails digging into her palms, producing blood. What of them bletch? Eeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeee lavishly handsome. Blonde beautiful locks, dark red eyes, whiskers that looked too harsh for such a gorgeous face. He wore no shirt revealing his chest that was disgracefully scared. A deep gash across his chest and many more little scars scattered amongst his body. He wore dark red loose pants with weird black markings on them. But most importantly she noticed the bushy foxtail and ears. His tail swayed side to side in a lazy manner. He sat on a fallen tree with his foot propped up and an arm slung over his knee, gazing up at her with a wide grin. Quelch. Gasp. What do you want from me? Ah, Hinata. Hinata. It's not what I want from you. It's what you want from me. What if I told you the people that damned you to hell are happily getting married and having children? Laughing, joking, eating till their bellies are plump. They don't care about poor Miss Angel who saved them. The angel that had gave it her all to grace them with such luxuries. They didn't parade your name around like the goddess you are. No, they sent you here to suffer. After all you did for them. Such cruelty, such injustice. The man went on like he was in a play. Oh my sweet angel. He was now kneeling beside her with a wild smile that stretched across his face. I want you to get your revenge. And how do you know I want revenge? The fox boy licked his lips deliciously. Of course you want revenge. That's why you are still here. It's what's keeping you alive. You have powers I've never seen before. They were afraid of you, that's why you are here. The great scholars told your loving man that in order for him to be king he had to get rid of you. For prophecy said that one day a dark angel would bring the wrath like no other. The man reached his hand down to grace Hinata's face, his finger tracing her jawline like a lover, from her chin and back up to put a strand behind her ear. His sharp claws nipped her ear drawing blood, but she was unmoved. The man brought his finger to his mouth to slowly lick the blood off. You shall be the one, Hinata. It was always going to be you. The one that helped bring peace on earth. Crack ee. The fox's ears twitched at the ugly sound. He moved slowly to show her his clenched fist. Staring at her he opened his hand to reveal a glowing orb. Inside it she saw the man who she had loved, fought for, laid with, the one that betrayed her, getting married to another woman. The smiles, the laughter, the cheers, the happiness tore her apart. She heaved like an animal rising up. Her tears began to fall but they were black. Her fist shook by her side and she unleashed a scream. The dress that she wore fell a bit off her shoulders revealing the place her wings once were. The spider-like legs reached for her and she slashed out releasing burst of energy tearing the beast to shreds in one blow. The blood of the beast rained down on them in a sickly fashion. All the while the demon fox grinned in satisfaction. He bowed his head to her. Gingerly he kissed each finger with passion. The world would rue the day they betrayed their angel. Think agony kind of if you ever seen that game. That's pretty much what the place kind of looks like. Okay, this will be dark. But please review, this is going to be a long story. I know you might have a lot of questions but you gotta continue reading to find out. I like writing dark stories, I don't know why. Hinata will be crack but she was Hinata in the beginning and there still is some of her in there. Somewhere, yeah, but anyways, this is about how she was betrayed by the people she saved and helped and she got nothing. Now she's going to pretty much fuck shit up but we will see how it goes. I am still going to update Feisty Love and Forgotten. Two bloody figures walked through the crooked forest. Any deformed animal that lunged at them was ripped to shreds. What a way to get to know each other. The fox boy laughed running backwards. A mutated wolf with two heads jumped in front of them making the fox stop but not turn around. And what is my loyal servant's name? She said, loyal with disgust. Hinata. Roar. The beast began to charge at them but before it could lay a finger on any of them, the fox's bushy tail separated into 9 tails stabbing the wolf and lifting it high. He tossed it to the side without a care in the world. Name's Naruto, and I am your loyal servant. He stepped closer to Hinata faces but a mere inch away. I know you were betrayed by your people but I would never do that to you. And why is that? Your anger and fury. It does something to me. He breathed deeply like he was taking in the smell of some delicious food. Hinata had a tilt to her head and an amused expression to match. Well, my one love betrayed me, so why should I trust a fox demon? She whispered, "I will do anything for you. I won't even let anything lay a hair on you." He moved to push hair over her shoulder, gracing her slender shoulder. "Because you and me aren't so much different. NNNDI just get off on mayhem, baby." He smirked. Before Hinata could speak, another deranged wolf lunged at them from the bushes. Ruah arg. Naruto stabbed the wolf just like the other one and tossed it. Ahem. Hinata looked down at her cheek where blood had splattered on her already bloodied figure. "Oops, sorry about that." Naruto grinned, gently wiping the blood off her cheek, making it more messy than clean. A slow smile graced her face as she stared at the insane fox in front of her. But she let it disappear quickly. She would not allow herself to be fooled so easily. But what more did she have to lose at this point? "I see." She let her gaze linger on his eyes as she stepped around him to continue their way to this so-called castle Naruto was telling her about. Never had she seen a castle. But she had also never gotten this far either. It was funny walking through the forest. You could never tell when the next day started or ended. Usually every day she was revived. So that's how she tried to count them, but in the beginning she did her best to not die. How could she tell what time it was? There was no sun, no moon, no nothing. She hated this place. After her incident with the spider that devoured her half the time she'd been here, she couldn't shake this weird feeling in her heart. Her body felt strange, not like it did before. And that burst of dark energy? She was not aware of the powers she had at all. Most of her powers consisted of healing or even light power. But this? It was like her blood was boiling and ready to explode. She hadn't seen dark energy like that and didn't know she was capable of it. Hinata was no fool, she knew she was powerful. But her light powers were conjured up with happiness and the need to do good. When she was with him, she felt this warmness spread through her body. Her love knew no boundaries. She fought for him and did what she could. She made the ground sprout flowers where she walked, the crops grow where she danced, the sick spring out of bed when she sang. She healed wounds that were thought to be fatal. Everything she did for all of them. Her friends as well. To save her people, well, not her people anymore. But everything she did, her powers would come to her aid to help them. When she was thrown into the dark, all those powers went away. She had thought it was because her wings were gone. But she's starting to understand now. Her hatred that grew also made her stronger. Her power source was her hatred for the disgraceful man she called her love, and of course all the others. In other words, she was mad at the world. She balled up her fist in anger, allowing the feeling to take over her. And now he marries another. That other woman who she once healed side by side with. The one who was her friend. How could this have happened? All the times they shared. The times they traveled together. Was it all for nothing? The long nights, the pain they shared when they lost someone close. All for nothing, did they not matter? She punched a nearby tree, causing it to burst. Black tears were running down her cheek. She stared at her hand and opened and closed it. She didn't feel that warmth that made her skin tingle. It was something else. It made her body feel more delightful. Naruto walked to a huge door before stopping and tossing a grin at Hinata. "I got you here. But it's up to you to get out of here." He opened the door and all she could see was black. He stood there holding the door open. "Go on in. Don't be shy." He smiled. She gave him a hesitant look before stepping inside the darkness. Slam. Hinata slightly turned her head to stare at nothing. It was too dark to see, and without the bit of light from the door she couldn't even see what was in front of her. Had Naruto betrayed her? Where was she? "Who's there?" a voice yelled in the dark. Hinata walked towards the voice, trying to find who it was that spoke. She didn't know why she was trying to find it, but something about that voice. Stay away. It sobbed. Hinata stopped walking, listening to the voice. Something sounded too familiar. She walked on. "Stay away." A burst of white light shot at her and she was blasted away. A pain shot in Hinata's chest, but she's felt worse. She held onto her chest and got up with a groan. Even though she felt worse, it still hurt. A bright light appeared again and Hinata gasped. Both Hinatas. There she was standing there in her white dress. Not at all stained with red. Was it always that beautiful? It flowed on her like she was a goddess. Her dark blue hair flowed with life behind her. Her white eyes glowed with warmth. Her red lips looked plump. And her skin glowed. After a moment of staring, the Hinata that she looked like before started screaming. Well, of course she did. She had blood and guts all over her and in places she didn't know it could be. She slowly stood and her shoulders began to shake. She looked down and her bangs covered her eyes. The light the other Hinata held was shot at her. Get away. She yelled, who are you? She threw another one. Each one hit Hinata, shooting her backward. She lied there for a long moment. How comical. How crudely comical. Just the other day she thought how she would scream if she saw herself. Outstanding. Life was a funny thing. Life was full of surprises. And she was getting tired of it. Tired of it all. For once she wanted to be in control. She will be the one to laugh in life's face. Her shoulders continued to shake. She slowly got up, and when she did she laughed. And laughed. And laughed. She possibly sounded like a witch. You are pathetic. Hinata threw a dark ball her way and she countered it with one of her light ones. Why, you are evil. I won't allow you to kill me. And that blood, what kind of monster are you? I'm you idiot. The two women threw energy balls at each other back and forth, running around in the dark area. Though Hinata's orbs were dark, they still illuminated some light. Me? Impossible. Such sea-cold eyes. You are evil. More orbs were tossed back and forth. One got the good Hinata on her shoulder and she cried out in pain. Pathetic you know no pain. Hinata unleashed a stream of darkness from her hands in anger. The good Hinata also released a blast from her hand, creating a battle of energy, dark and light. I can't die here, I must get back to my people. That did it, how dare she? People. Hinata hissed. Your people sent you here, you ignorant fool. No. I know there's a mistake. I will talk to him, I will get the truth. Toneri would never betray me. We fought side by side. All those years. I am his angel. Ah! Hinata screamed maliciously. She was tired of hearing this ignorance. Tired of hearing it all. It was what she used to tell herself in the beginning. She couldn't handle the truth. But now that she was shown that wedding, oh, she will kill them now. No one was mourning for her. No one cared. She will destroy them. Destroy them all. I will kill them, even if it means I have to kill you. Boom. The blast of energy exploded, sending both Hinatas flying. Neither one of them moved for a while. You're sick. What happened to you? The light Hinata whispered. The other Hinata began to crawl to the light one. And then she slowly got up. When you die, over and over again, you begin to wonder the true meaning of life. Life is what you make it. She walked towards the other Hinata on the ground. Taking slow steps. I lost whatever part of me was left. You are what was left of me. I am broken. We are broken. She stopped over the girl and saw the fresh tears in her eyes. The dark Hinata fell to her knees and caressed her face. I've cried for days, begging for my life to end. But it never did. And here I am. So what is the point? What am I supposed to do? All that powers me now is the sweet, sweet revenge. Maybe then, I can close my eyes in peace. I pity you, the girl said between sobs. Yeah, well, don't. And with that, Hinata stabbed the girl in the heart, grabbing it and squeezing the life out of it. The girl's mouth shot open and stayed that way in shock. The coldest look took a hold of Hinata's face and she smiled with glee, bringing the blood to her tongue. The darkness began to spin and the girl on the floor turned black and then to dust. The darkness started to shoot at her one by one. All the darkness was being absorbed in her body and she screamed in pain. It burned. She felt like her body was on fire on the inside. All the darkness was becoming one with her. She screamed at the top of her lungs and writhed in pain. Her body appeared to be having a seizure and she cried out louder and louder until she could not feel anymore and her world faded away from her. Did she die? Well, this meant she was going to be right at the beginning, in that bloody water. It was always what welcomed her when she first woke. I wonder if Naruto will be there. The first thing she felt was warmth. It started on her face and spread to the rest of her body. She then heard a noise. A weird sound. Could it be? Chirp, chirp. Tweet, tweet, tweet. Whoosh, whoosh. Her hands moved a little at her side to feel the soft grass underneath her. Her eyelids moved and then fluttered open. Instantly her bloody cacked hands flung up to protect her eyes from the blinding sun that peered through the trees above. A leaf was blown out of the tree and was gracefully falling to her. She reached out to catch it. Hinata turned it to and fro, staring at how green it was. A light giggle escaped her lips. A handsome face appeared above her with a grin. Mornin' beautiful, Naruto. She whispered. I forgot. She swallowed the lump in her throat. I forgot how beautiful it was. A black tear slid to the side of her face, staining the grass below. That other place may have been better. He joked before jumping down next to her. He lied there side by side with his hands behind his head. Can we sit and enjoy this moment? For just a little while, she whispered looking at him. He smiled. And here I thought you'd be tired of lying around. He smirked. She laughed a bit before scooting her head next to him. She sighed and looked back at the blue sky. She was free. Please leave a review. What do you think of Naruto and Hinata's odd relationship? And poor Hinata hasn't seen the sun in so long. There was a middle-aged man fishing in front of his cabin. There usually wasn't much in the lake, but it was relaxing to sit out and fish. He was a bit pudgy and had a gray beard covering most his face. A hat to block out the sun, and he wore loose pants and a tight white shirt. The man sighed as he threw the line out into the water. He stretched and got comfortable, reaching for his bucket. Maybe today he will get lucky. A pull. Margaret. What? A woman about the same age as the man came from around the small cabin. She was holding a basket to her hip. The basket was filled with big red apples. She hurried to her husband's side as her long dress dragged on the ground. Margaret was a bit slimmer than her husband, but she had gray hair to match his. Her cheeks were red from being out in the sun too long. I got one. Oh, get ready now. The man jumped up, reeling the fish in. Oh Lord John, the fish are smaller than my goddamn hand. Well, it's better than your damn apples, woman. What? Say that to my face, you old coot. You won't touch a single slice of pie when I am done. The old couple bickered but didn't see the looming figures watching them. Screw you. Right back at ya, you cranky old man. The woman went into the cabin, slamming the door behind her. Damn woman. Only thing she do good is lie on her back. The man plopped back down, his fish getting away. The birds chirped to one another and the wind played a song. But the quietness was rudely interrupted. Ah! A shrieking scream pierced the air. The man dropped his pole, whipping his head to the cabin. A terrified face took a hold of him. The scream making his stomach drop and his heart clench. Sweat was already forming on his forehead. It was a pitiful scream, and it came from his wife. Margaret, he shouted, running to his cabin. He tripped a few times and scrambled to the door, fear shaking him to his core. Margaret. When he bust in the door, he stopped and stared. The sight he saw made him paralyzed, his mouth slowing open in horror. A young man with bright blonde hair and whiskers was holding his wife. He had red fox ears on his head and a lazy bushy tail poked up in attention. It separated into 9 tails and then back to 1. He was covered in blood, and God, he hoped it wasn't his wife's blood. He was holding his wife with a sickening grin. His wife was in a headlock with a loose grip. The fox boy did not worry about the woman getting away. He had enough strength to blow up the house for all he cared. Margaret's bosom raised with a shaky breath and flattened with a scared wheeze. Her eyes as wide as a deer. She stared at him, begging him for help with her eyes. For him to do anything at all to save her. Her hands were over the arm around her throat, not trying to pull it away but shaking over it. She knew she was no match. She was so scared she could barely feel the gash in her stomach from when the demon boy clawed at her. But her husband saw the blood, dripping to the floor and soaking the front of her dress like she had just lost a baby. The demon boy pressed his cheek up to the woman's face, rubbing his to hers in mocking way. Is it true what ya say? She's good on her back, eye? He smiled, poking at one of his canines with a tongue. His other hand played with a button on her blouse suggestively. Why you ggg get off her ddee? The man was so scared he could barely speak. Nothing could leave his mouth. It was the 9-tailed fox. Of all evils in the world, the 9-tailed fox was the worst. Destruction and chaos was what he fed off on. He loved it, craved it. He heard stories about him, but never, in his wildest dreams, did he think that he would meet him. All the demons and monsters he thought were locked away for good. The old king himself had locked them away. The ones that weren't locked away were so afraid of the king that they stayed hidden. Suppose that was only a rumor. The fox had lived a long time ago and then went to sleep for eternity, so he thought. What had awakened him? One rumor that did float around was the fact that the demon boy was in fact a cannibal. But how? How was he here? T the K Kane. We'll get you for this. Naruto was still rubbing his face on the woman, but now he added a lovely sway, as if to dance to some romantic music. The woman shuddered, moaning in distress. He even began to hum a beautiful melody, spinning the woman around and back in his clutches. He was sick, beyond sick. The old man lunged for his sword that sat on the side. He had thought he was so quick the demon didn't even notice, but wrong he was. Oh no. Naruto faked being shocked. His tail swooshed quickly as if he was startled. You put her down, demon boy, or I'll kill ya. He spat. Naruto poked out his lip. Ah, don't kill me, that's not nice. The man raised his sword up. He hadn't fought in years. He didn't think he'd ever need the sword again after the peace that spread over the land. He stepped forward a shaky foot into the blood on the floor. Knocking into an apple. I am warning you, he yelled, raising the sword up in a fighting stance. A shadow blocked the light that shone through the door. The man noticed and turned his head a bit, not trying to take his eyes off the fox. What he saw about gave him a heart attack. A bloodied woman with long hair sticking to her figure, with a dress that stuck to her as well due to all the blood on her. Her eyes, those yes, looked soulless. And the world seemed darker around her. Something about her scared him. It was haunting, terrifying, even more than the fox. It was like she was producing a dark aura that he could feel. It made him whimper and drop to his knees, his sword clattering to the ground. Dark. A angel, he whispered like it was a forbidden word. It was the dark angel. And she had brought her fox pet to bring wrath upon the world. The prophecy. It was true, it was true. Someone, anyone, save him, save him. Hinata looked at the scene in amazement. Why was this man cowering before her? It was very opposite from before, when people would smile and come forth with joy. But it was different this time. It was like his fear was feeding her. She felt a chill. She took a slight breath, smelling the fear roll off him. He was more scared of her than Naruto, and she wasn't even doing anything. She let a giggle escape her lips. Naruto, I am going to take a dip in the lake. When you are done, we can talk about what we should do next. Aye, my queen, he shouted gleefully. Hinata watched for a minute as the man cowered on the ground in a prayer and the woman in Naruto's arms began to full-blown cry. She swayed a bit on one foot and then to the other, before finally leaving. It was an interesting feeling. Different, but interesting. She almost wanted to watch. Actually, she did want to watch. But she moved away from the cabin, and let the screams fill her ears. She hummed softly, looking at the sky as she undressed. She allowed her dress to fall to the ground and pool around her feet. Standing on the edge of the lake, she let her toes take a dip. She hummed louder and then began to sing to herself. Walking further into the water, her arms outstretched like a goddess. The water around her instantly began to change colors. And she swayed in, dancing and singing. Her voice beautiful, but the song sounding oh so sinister. She danced around in the water, feeling every bit of it. Her arms moved and the water followed. She began to turn and the water lifted above her, spinning along with her. And finally she plopped down into the water, letting the water rain on her. And she finished her song with a hum and sigh. She felt Naruto's presence. Enjoy your meal? She heard him burp. Well, not as much. They were kind of old tasting. But that song, I enjoyed that song a lot. Hinata looked over her shoulder. Naruto was standing by her dress. He had an odd twinkle in his eyes. In his hand a bone, and he was picking his teeth with it. It's a beautiful song. Honestly, you sound like an angel. Hinata began to chuckle, hiding behind her hand, a blush reaching her cheeks. She enjoyed Naruto's presence very much. She could get used to him. No really, he laughed, kicking off his pants. Hinata looked away, however. Thank you, Naruto. She reached up to wash her hair, but her wrists were grabbed by the fox's tails. A queen should have to wash her own hair. He was now behind her. She could feel his hands on her shoulder. His tails let her hands go and retreated. He traced his hands up her slender neck and into her hair, pulling it together. He began to scrub her hair as she lowered herself into the water. She sighed in comfort. It was relaxing having Naruto wash her hair. An ugly caw sounded throughout the woods, making Hinata and Naruto look up. There were crows in the trees hiding. But they could see them. If she wasn't mistaken, they had red eyes. Was that normal for a bird? Don't worry about it, my queen, Naruto said, continuing to scrub her hair. But there was something weird about the crows. She glared at them before. Hinata, what was that? It was like the crow spoke in her mind. Naruto noticed Hinata looking at the crow curiously. Hey, don't talk to her. Hinata. Wah! Hinata jumped up confused. She looked between Naruto and the crow. What was going on? Naruto sighed. You just had to ruin my moment, Hateme. Naruto had his arms crossed in a pout. Naruto? Please explain what's going on. Naruto sighed like a child. Alright, alright. He finished scrubbing himself and washing the blood out his hair. Hinata. Hinata glanced at the bird again and its ugly caw reached her ears. Shut up Teme. How come I can hear him? Can he hear me? Hinata followed Naruto out the lake, his tail swooshing side to side, irritated. No, it's only if you allow it. You have a protective barrier around your mind so we can't dig into it and manipulate you. Which is what the Teme is trying to do. The Teme? They walked inside the cabin dripping with water. Blood was all over the floor and the couple were lying side by side with their stomachs open. With a permanently horrified face, mouths and O's, Naruto went to the small bedroom rummaging through clothes. He tossed her a dress and Prachi edited to put on the mont's clothes. Baggy pants and a baggy white shirt. So we blend in more, we don't need the king knowing about us just yet. Naruto. Hinata said impatiently, putting on the long dress that reached her feet and puffed out a bit. Naruto huffed again. The Teme is Sasuke Uchiha. Hinata looked at him sternly, waiting for more explanation. Why is he trying to manipulate me? Naruto shrugged, going out into the open area. Oh come on. The crow was now at the bodies, pecking around and cawing. I was gonna eat that. What do you want from me? Hinata asked the crow. It's not gonna talk back to you. Sasuke has no true power right now. The only thing left of him are his crows. He's been trying to get some poor soul to release him. He can't do much but try to hypnotize people. Naruto said, plopping down in a chair. What is he? No normal human can do that? He's, was. The Vampire King. Vampire? King? Wow. She was not on Earth when the vampires were around. But the Vampire King himself is trying to get her to save him? He seemed like a powerful ally. Boot, he's trapped right now. Honestly, I'm surprised those crows are still around. Then I will have to release him. Huh. He looked up at her with shocked eyes. Well, I need people, right? What is a queen without people? She looked at Naruto with a small smile. Yeah, I suppose. But we can't get anyone else. Why the Teme? Does he scare you? No. That bastard is annoying as hell. He gets on my nerves. Naruto's ears were furiously moving about. Hinata smiled, petting his head gently. It's okay, Naruto. He will be just a pawn. She bent down to kiss him on the forehead, and you my humble servant. She brought his chin up with a soft push of her fingertips. She leaned forward to place a quick kiss to his lips before moving away. Naruto smiled. Well, I can't say no after that, now can I? He watched as she walked away graciously. He let a slight tongue slip across his lips. He got up and looked at his mess. Thanks for the clothes, he called out, picking up an apple dripping with blood. Hinata and Naruto walked down a dirt path. The green leaves fell gracefully down, resting on the path. They must have been in the land of fire. It was always lush and green there. Hinata's guessed that it was summertime. The sun was warm and there was a soft breeze. Caw, hungry for another? Hinata asked the bird that perched on her shoulder. She was carrying hers and Naruto's things in a basket. Apples and fruit sat on top of their clothes. She grabbed a grape and held it up to the bird. He hungrily grabbed it with its beak, throwing its head back to swallow it. Caw. Naruto watched Hinata as she fed the bird with a hidden smile. He was always watching her honestly. She was intriguing, and her darkness that surrounded her was even better. He could tell that she was getting used to it. Not yet there, but a newborn dark angel. He couldn't wait to see what she will become, and what destruction she'd bring forth. He shivered at this thought. Patience though. He had to be patient. He waited this long for her. He could wait even longer until she blossoms. He stopped sniffing the air. He tenses up suddenly as if frozen. His bushy tail disappeared slowly, along with his ears. Hinata stopped watching his ears as they went back into his head. He looked at her with a smirk. Alright, your turn. What do you mean? Well, Naruto skipped ahead a bit before whipping around facing her. He got in a squat and put his fingers up, making a square shape. One eye was closed as he looked at her through his square. You look beautiful to me, but you might scare off the villagers before we even get in there. The crow has to go and your aura has to be sealed. We gotta fit in like a couple. He smirked. Off you go. Hinata patted the bird and it flew up into the trees. And what do you mean about my aura? Like the darkness that you're putting off. You gotta take it down a notch. Hinata glanced around a bit confused. Naruto sighed, putting his hands down onto his knees. You know how that guy was scared of you? Well, it's because you are producing some of your darkness. Not a lot of it, but just some. I'm sure you felt different, right? Hinata thought about this before she looked at him even more confused. Well yeah, but how do I do that? Okay. Naruto jumped up making his way towards Hinata. He placed his hands on her shoulders, close your eyes, and breath. Hinata closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Now I want you to kind of imagine like a container of some sort. You gotta conceal your powers. Bring it all together like it's at the center of your core and reel it in. Focus on breathing. Like each inhale it's getting smaller and smaller, radiating into one position. Hinata did as such, breathing deeply, exhaling and inhaling, imagining a box. She felt like the world was moving around her, being absorbed into her. Good, you're doing it. Atta girl. Now try to close the lid. Seal it off. Hinata scrunched up her eyes, trying to do just like Naruto instructed. It felt like her stomach flipped upside down. She let out a breath and opened her eyes to meet the clear blue ones that stared down at her. Your eyes? Were they always so blue? Well, it won't do us any good if I'm walking in with eyes as red as the devil's ass, now will it? Hinata let out a giggle at Naruto's twisted humor. Well, I suppose you look innocent, sort of. Now you look like an innocent woman, off we go honey. Naruto gave her his arm so she could wrap hers around his. They walked together as Naruto whistled a tune. The village was a bit small, but one could see that it was growing. People walked about cheerfully. The village was alive, for it was early morning. People were off to do work and chores. It was just one of the many villages that prospered from the war. What are we doing here, Naruto? Hinata whispered. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't want to walk to save the jackass. How far is it? Quite far, dear. The two dodged another herd of people, breaking through the crowd. Fresh fish, sir. Caught 'em today. No thanks. Naruto smiled, ushering Hinata away from the calling money seekers. Who far? How about far north? The team's castle is lost within a forest. In the land of darkness. No one can find it, but I'm sure that bird will bring us to him. Oh, that's not bad. Quote, yeah, I bet when you have wings. Hinata gave Naruto a look of irritation. Not anymore, she hissed. Okay, cool it, babe. He patted her arm reassuringly, as if they had a little couple's quarrel. The two ventured a little further to the other side of the village to find carriages and horses. I can't believe I'm going back to the darkness. Well, at least this time you will have the moon, Yeah, I suppose. Hinata sighed as they stopped hidden by the building. Alright, sit back and watch how it's done, my lady. Naruto let go of Hinata's arm and tossed her a grin before going off somewhere. She was curious to what kind of trick the trickster was going to come up with. Kaya, oink oink oink. Bwak bwak. Pigs and chickens came running down the street with people chasing after them. The men holding on to their hats and the women hiking up their dress. Hinata chuckled, and before she could even question where Naruto was, a horse was trotting towards her with her blonde servant. Yaha! He yelled, reaching down for her. She grabbed hold fast and he swung her up on the horse without skipping a beat. Hinata quickly wrapped her arms around Naruto's waist, careful with the basket. They were both leaning a bit forward as the brown stallion galloped onward, leaping over a wooden fence. Well, that wasn't very destructive. You feeling okay? Hinata chuckled. Had to keep it down a bit, honey. But if you want blood, guts and the galore like at the cabin, then ya gotta wait a bit. Speaking of which, what will the king think of your mess? Well, hopefully he'd get off on it, like you did. With this, Naruto turned his head to smirk at her, showing his pearly white teeth and that devilishly handsome smile of his. Damn him. Hinata bit her lip. He only tossed his head back and laughed. Both were silent now, listening to the trotting of the horse. She rested her head on Naruto's back, thinking of the land she once walked, but walked differently than now. The land she once flew over. The trees whipped past her in a slight blur. Caw. She glanced up to see the crow following not so far behind. Flying in the sky, the big blue sky like she once did. Its wings flapped methodically. She remembered, when she once was up there. There they are. Hinata glided down, landing with grace. Her dark blue hair shined and waved in the wind. Her feet bare but soft. Walking barefoot had not ruined the soles of her feet. Her beautiful big eyes shone with wonder, bright. They were very bright. How far away? Toneri questioned. He was the commander of the group. His white hair shaped his face. And he wore his father's armor. Blue and yellow with the crescent of the leaf on the chest plate. His sword was hooked to his hip. A hand placed tensely over it. "Not far, my lord." Hinata smiled and bowed, her white wings outstretched. "Thank you, Hinata. What would I do without your aid in this war?" This made Hinata blush deeply. She looked up quickly, blinking her eyes rapidly. My lord, it was all you. I only try my best." Toneri came towards her with a smile. His leathered gloved hand touched upon her cheek. She leaned into it comfortably. "No, Hinata, you've helped me so much. Thank you. Thank you so much, my angel." He knelt down, placing a kiss on her lips. Then he stood, drawing his sword. "Let's go." Quote. The rest of the soldiers grabbed their swords, raising it up as well, giving their warrior cry. "Ya!" Hinata stood up, watching Toneri shout orders at his men. He was a fierce leader. And brave. Hinata admired him. Hinata loved him. Hinata clenched her fist. But he didn't care for her. She was a tool. Nothing but a damn weapon. Once he was done with her, he tossed her away. "I love you, Hinata. My angel. You mean so much to me." Lies, they were all lies. Hidden by a smile and a sweet kiss. Words of meaningless nothing. "Hinata." Toneri called. "Hinata." His voice was distorted, morphing into a different voice. "Hinata." This time she realized the voice to be Naruto. She let her eyes flutter before looking up at Naruto. But what was interesting was the blue sky was no longer blue. It was gray, and it looked like it was going to rain. What had happened to the sun? She looked up in surprise. It got colder as well. Was she out of it that long? Did she perhaps fall asleep? "Naruto, when did it get so dark and cloudy?" "When you started putting out your dark aura." Naruto didn't look at her but faced forward. His humorous tone not present. "I what? No way, you're joking, right?" "Nope. No jokes here. Remember that dark aura I was talking about? You started releasing a lot of it." Naruto turned to look at her and she gasped. His eyes were more red than before. His canines looked more enlarged and poked at his lip. Deep whiskers black as soot appeared on his face. He licked his lips and smiled. "Keep it down a bit, alright? I know I'm not one to say so, but geez, girl. You have a lot of darkness bottled up inside you. It's seeping out. Foreplay later, remember? Keep it under control." Naruto's voice sounded deep. A dark chuckle grumbled deep within. "I didn't think you'd be able to make me feel like this. I can't even hold myself together." He was right, she could feel it roll off him. I felt good. She was causing this? Causing him to even lose his cool. How crazy. But she closed her eyes, nodding her head in agreement. She had to get it under control. 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 She will get her revenge. And it will be sweet. To see the surprised face on Toneri. When he sees she's still alive. She couldn't wait. The horse continued on, moving through the forest. They were on their way to recruit their fist soldier. How will this interaction be? Will he join her quietly? Or put up a fight? She couldn't wait to see what kind of character he was going to be. She just only hoped that the two will get along. "The horse is getting tired." Hinata spoke softly, her head lying on Naruto's back. They had been riding on for quite some time. The sun was soon to be leaving them. There was a pause of silence as they listened to the tired trots of the horse. Yeah, I guess I can't be that cruel, huh?" Naruto pulled on the reins and headed off the dirt path in the middle of the forest. "There's a creek nearby," he called as they broke open into a spacious area. The horse slowed down, panting and neighing in exhaustion. It trotted to the nearby stream and began gulping water. Naruto jumped off and helped Hinata off by grabbing her hips. He gracefully put her down, his hands still on her hips. His eyes were back to their red color. His ears popped back out and his tail swooshed freely behind him. "You can relax a bit, but not too much, alright?" He tapped under her chin before moving away. He began to throw off his shirt and even kicked off his pants, not caring that Hinata was standing right there. Hinata glanced away and pulled out his pants that were now surprisingly dry. "They are already dry?" she questioned in awe. "Yeah, they're kind of unique pants. I guess having pants that dry quickly is a must." He chuckled, "It's just one of my many powers my super mighty pants have." Hinata laughed, still looking away, but peeking a little at the boy. She was awed by the many scars on him. Each one a different cut, and each one told a different story. Being shy again? She could hear the smugness in his voice as she whipped her head to the horse. "Don't worry, babe, whenever you want it, it's all yours." "I don't want it at all, remember?" She scoffed playfully. "Liar, liar, your pants are definitely on fire. Well, if you had any." His voice faded away and Hinata looked over to see him leaving. Where are you going? Scout the area, we can rest here a bit. Hinata sighed as she watched the demon disappear behind the bushes. She looked at the clothes on the ground. He's a mess, isn't he? She smiled at the bird in the tree. She picked up the clothes and plopped down on a rock not far from the horse. She sat down the basket, relaxing her hands in her lap. Hinata cocked her head to the side, looking at the grass beneath her feet. She wiggled her small toes a bit and took a deep breath. She threw a glance at the sun that was slowly seeping into the land. She couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement. She was excited for what was ahead of her. Maybe she was overconfident, but she was finding joy in her little adventure. No fear at all, not like when she fought in the war. Every twist and turn, all she felt was fear. Fear of what would come out of the depths of hell. And now look at her. She is that fear that crawls on people's backs and make them shake in their boots. Has she really gone insane? So far gone to enjoy what she once was afraid of? All those days locked away in that dark pit, and now she's free. Happy to release the same pain she felt, but 10 times worse. How interesting. It didn't matter if she lived or died at this point. She had died so many times anyway, who cares? At this thought, Hinata giggles to herself, tossing her head back. What fun, what fun. She spoke to the crow that now pecked around on the ground. One thing's for sure, she found her partner in crime to be marvelous. She felt a sense of attraction towards him. An attraction she could not deny. Something about him made her all giddy and happy too. Such happiness found in such darkness. How weird. And she wanted him. It was like a spark lighting up every time their eyes locked onto each other. But she'd play hard to get. What's the fun in rushing? They had all the time in the world. And he seemed to enjoy the play too. She smirked as she glared at a white flower. Evil and darkness, but happiness and delight, how peculiar, yes. Hinata let another giggle slip between her lips. Indeed, she whispered, truly entertaining. She threw her arms up dramatically and fell down to the grass, staring up at the darkening sky. Naruto's eyes slowly cracked open. He hadn't slept like that in a while. He had too much energy to really bother to sleep for long. That and the fact that he was put to sleep for years. If he was unlucky, he'd still be asleep. He felt the dead grass under his hand and looked down. Around him and as far as he could see, the forest looked dead. Everything was wilted and gray. His eyes stared in awe, even the trees limped over. Dead leaves fell slowly to the ground. It appeared like it was snowing, but dead leaves. Good morning, Sleeping Beauty, a soft voice called. He turned to look at an amused Hinata. She had on her white dress, probably because he shredded her other one during their fucking, but he had to say she looked gorgeous. A little too bright for his taste. She stepped into the clearing, beaming a smile at him. Was this your doing, Missy? Naruto gestured around him while getting up from the ground floor. Hinata slightly blushed. I think I went a little out of control. A little? Naruto scoffed. Hinata let out a nervous giggle. I don't know, I just feel alive. When I drain the life force out of everything, I feel much more than I ever felt. Hinata's eyes lit up like a child that caught its first animal. Naruto grinned down at her. Stepping closer, he gently caressed her cheek with the back of his hand. A lot different than when you would heal the living, huh? Hinata nodded her head, leaning into Naruto's touch. How ironic. The angel that gave her everything to the world, now takes it all back. Poetic, really. Hinata reached out to Naruto's cheek to caress his whiskers. I can't wait to take it all, she whispered gleefully. A dark tint in her eyes. Naruto dipped his head down to place a kiss on her lips. And take you will. Just don't take all my energy. You could have drained me dry, you wild woman. Naruto chuckled. Never, my loyal servant. Hinata reached up to kiss Naruto back. They stared at each other for a long period. Their eyes locking onto each other. Naruto's hands slowly moving along the side of her body and hair. They dashed towards each other, intent on locking lips, but before they could reach their destination, a screeching caw interrupted them. Both of them turned their heads to see the black crow squawking at them. The two couldn't help the laugh that escaped their lips. Fuck you too, Sasuke. Naruto called, flipping the crow off. The horse galloped on for a few hours. Hinata couldn't help to wonder about their adventure. This constant feeling of excitement was overwhelming almost. Soon the trees began to multiply. There were so many trees it covered most of the sky. There were barely any space for light to get in. It felt as though the forest was crowded with trees. Barely enough space for them to pass through. As soon as they entered the forest, Hinata had caught onto a group of people following them. Naruto, I sense them. Naruto growled. Hinata laid her head on Naruto's bare back. She sighed as she felt that presence. That presence that she knew all too well. She didn't think she'd come face to face with the kingdom just yet. Her stomach felt like it had butterflies in it. She didn't know why, but she felt a bit nervous. Are you having doubts? He didn't ask, it was a statement. No, Hinata said, a little more stern than she thought. Naruto didn't say anything after that and cracked the reins. Hinata slowly closed her eyes. When she reopened them, she found herself soaring through the skies again. A smile plastered on her face. She was in the clouds, her wings flapping behind her. How she missed it. How she truly missed flying. She felt so free then. Hinata dipped down, breaking from the white fluff, and below she spots her kingdom. Konoha Kingdom was possibly the most beautiful in her eyes. Grass vines grew on the side of some building, but she couldn't help to notice how this just added to the scenery. The kingdom was so lush and full of life. Trees and cherry blossoms scattered the area. She saw people look up to her on top of some of their buildings. She heard some cheers and delightful greetings. Kids pointed at her as she soared over. Smiles on their chubby face. Her shadow casted upon the shopkeepers, making them glance up and wave. These were her people. The people she swore to protect at all cost. And protect them she did. Hinata slowed down, landing on the first stair of the castle. Her wings tucked behind her back, staying out of the way. Hinata, a cheery voice called to her at the top of the stairs. She smiled as she saw her friend descend the steps. Her pink long hair tied back with a red bow. She wore a tight white shirt and a flowy red skirt. Sakura. The two meet and hug passionately. Sakura was her best friend. She can tell her anything in the world and she was always there for her. She admired Sakura. Her strength is admirable. If only she could be as confident as the woman in her arms. She was a headstrong woman. Which brings Hinata to a giggle. Sakura, is that a skirt you are wearing? Sakura made a disgusted noise breaking from Hinata. She pointed at her skirt as if it had disappointed her. My dad said I should try to dress more girly. Isn't that just dumb? I am a war medic, not a flower girl. Sakura's shouts bounced off the buildings. Hinata was afraid she'd wake up the whole kingdom. Now Sakura, I think you look beautiful. A masculine voice called from behind them. The girls looked to see two men coming towards them. Yes, Sakura, the gods have blessed you well. Shut it, you too. The two men wearing their Konoha armor only laughed. One of them being Shikamaru, the other Rock Lee. They were both handsome men. And completely opposites. However, they were the best of friends. Lee even puts his hair up. Before it used to hang down in his face. Little hairs still fall in his face, however. As for their statements, Shikamaru was being sarcastic, but Lee truly believed that Sakura was beautiful no matter what she wore. Hinata giggled. And hello Hinata. If only we had wings, could we have gotten here sooner? The lazy man yawned, stretching. You don't even live that far away from the castle. Sakura scoffed with a cross of her arms. Yeah, but imagine if I had wings. Shikamaru looked up with a faraway twinkle in his eyes. The possibilities were endless. Are you sure why you'd even use them? Hinata asked seriously. Everyone, however, began to laugh. My lady, you wound me. Shikamaru said, holding his chest. Atta girl. Sakura tossed an arm around her angel friend. Although her face was bright red. She didn't mean to offend him. Stupid Hinata. It's okay Hinata, we joke on him all the time, he has tough skin. Rock Lee began to climb the stairs to the castle. Come on guys, Toneri will have a cow if we are late. Yeah. When they had gotten inside, Toneri was already talking to the others. There you guys are. What took you so long? Sai asked in a bored tone. I had to go wake up Shikamaru. Rock Lee sighed. You already know how many meetings he's missed by sleeping in. Hinata zoned out on the chatter. She was more interested in Toneri. She couldn't help how she felt about him, but she was just too shy to say anything. What was wrong with her? Toneri's eyes caught her from across the room and he smiled at her. Hinata gasped, looking away quickly, hiding under her bangs. She felt a little crowded, so she made her way to the balcony. She sighed, taking in the air and ruffling her wings. Please sir, let me speak to the angel. No can do, she's busy right now. But my son. Hinata looked down to see a woman with long black hair pleading on her knees. He's sick. Please. No other medic can heal him. But maybe she Cian. Get going, lady. The other guard pushed the woman down. We don't have time for this, he pinched the bridge of his nose. Go ask another medic. Hinata's brows creased as she saw the woman grudgingly walk away, holding her chest. She stared at the woman thinking about what to do. Her hands clenched the balcony. With one last glance behind her she leapt off and glided across the buildings. Landing in front of the woman. Eek! The woman yelped, falling on her behind. Oh, Angel, place. Take me to him, Hinata whispered. The woman quickly showed her to her little cottage. When she found the boy, he was in bed. Sweat was sticking to his face. His chest heaved up and down. Hinata knelt down and gently laid a hand on the boy's chest. Angel. His cracked lips barely moved. It sounded harsh. Shush. Hinata used her other hand to sweep the hair out of his face. What's your name? Hinata smiled. Kono Nohamaru. He started coughing and afterwards began to wheeze. His other hand weakly laid upon hers. It's okay, if why you can't do anything. He applied pressure as much as he could to her hand. His eyes low and sad. Almost accepting his fate. He was young, his life not yet taking a path. Please, he's not my son but I treat him like my own boy. Please save him. The woman whimpered in the corner. Her face painted with black soot. Her hands rough and beaten. Hinata stared at the young man before her. She placed both her hands out on his chest. She took a deep breath and when she exhaled she began to sing. Her words were in another language that the woman never heard before. But the song sounded oh so beautiful. It felt like she was telling her it was okay with just a simple song. Her voice radiated throughout the house. A glow began to slowly emerge, sending out little waves of light. Light that felt so warm. The woman couldn't help but stare with her mouth agape. She never felt so warm before. The boy body began to glow softly, light waves washing over his body. After the song was over, Hinata finished off with a hum and sigh. The boy's skin was no longer pale, but his normal tan was coming back. His chest stopped heaving and he fell into a deep slumber. Bless you, the woman cried, kissing both of Hinata's cheeks before throwing herself onto the boy. She began to weep over him, saying words that Hinata couldn't understand. Hinata slowly got up on weak wobbly legs. She made her way out the room as best as she could before collapsing. Her vision blurring and her hands shook beneath her. She began to cough, blood splattering into her hand. Her body shook violently. The boy was more sick than she had anticipated. The woman found her current state and gasped, running out. She heard her cries for help, guards. She shouted at the top of her lungs. Hinata watched as the floor faded in and out. It took a while before Toneri was picking her up, carrying her out the house. You foolish woman, he hissed. You know you aren't supposed to help those that are too sick. You could have killed your ELF. Hinata's head lolled around. She was too weak to even say anything. A sad look was on Toneri's face. I don't want anything to happen to you. I tell the guards to send the ill away for a reason. I don't want you to get hurt, Hinata. You mean so much to me. Hinata's eyes closed due to exhaustion. But she heard the last thing he said. She reopened them to stare blankly at the forest. Her eyes dark and heavy. They are right on our heels, Naruto chuckles. This will be interesting. Yes it will. Hinata's nails bite into her palm. The group of men were already upon them. There were no aggression, however, to Hinata's surprise. They followed slightly behind, but none made the move to close in on them. Why aren't they attacking us? Hinata said low enough for Naruto to hear. Naruto thought for a moment. He glanced at the crow that followed above. I think it's because they are trying to find where Sasuke is sleeping. He shrugged a bit. Do you think they've done this before? Why didn't they find him before? Maybe because Sasuke would release the mind control over the person when he realized they were being followed. But I am not entirely sure, honestly. Would it be bad if we led them to him? Well, I don't think the Teme thinks so. I am sure we can handle them. They are gonna be a bit more annoying than the bandits, however. Hinata nodded her head. She looked back to see distant shadows. Hold on tight. Hinata's hold tightened around Naruto as they dashed quickly to the left. They found themselves going down on a side of a cliff. Hinata looked down in awe. Trees were looming out of the dark pit below them. It appeared to get darker and darker the lower they went. She heard the gallops of the horses not too far behind. Follow them closely. We don't know what the Vampire King has up his sleeves. One of the men called. Yeah, but this is the farthest we've ever gotten. Why is he leading us this far? Hinata listened to the chatter silently. No voices were familiar to her. It could be a trap. Or, the king is getting desperate. He hasn't mind-controlled anyone successfully in years. What poor souls does he have under his belt this time? Hinata was glad it was dark enough to hide them. They did not recognize her from behind. We're almost there, Naruto whispered lowly. The horse veered to the right, landing onto the bottom of the dark pit. Its hooves echoed on the hard rock floor. The darkness hid most of the trees, making them look like dark shadows. Crows lined up at the top trees, red eyes glowing. Being in a place like this could make anyone go crazy and start hallucinating. Hinata had never been to the dark forest. No one dares to travel into the woods willingly. According to Naruto, they had believed the vampire king was dead. But they found some people that were hypnotized. This made the kingdom take action, leaving traps around the entry of Fang. It allowed them to know if anyone crosses it. Anyone who does are fools or hypnotized because the area is forbidden. The horse weaved between the trees gracefully. A bright light emitted from behind them. Someone had a light shard. Its white light cast a glow in the darkness. Hinata faced forward. She didn't want them to see her face. When we get there, we have to capture these two. No one is allowed into the castle. Got it? The men said in unison. Hinata let out a small gasp as the horse broke free from the woods. In front of them was a long, dark, stone bridge. The bridge was very wide, but pieces of it was broken. This allowed Hinata to see the complete darkness underneath. Where did that lead to? How long would someone fall before coming face to face with death? A brow rose, falling in complete darkness and not know when one will meet the floor. How disturbing, she giggled to herself. Alright, move in, men. The horses behind them began to gain speed. Naruto whipped the reins of his own horse. Unfortunately, the horse had been going on for a while. The stallion was a lot tired than the horses behind. Well then, ready to cause mayhem? After that question was said, a looming dark building rose before them on the other side of the bridge. Red eyes seemed to scatter among the castle, making the castle look as though it was alive. The bird above them cawed loudly, and the other birds began to caw. It sounded unpleasant, the birds' caw echoing amongst themselves, as if rejoicing. That's it, we found it, one of the men yelled. Toneri would be proud of us. Imagine the gold he will bless us? And the ladies SS. At the thought of Toneri, Hinata's face formed into a snarl. Her hand shook slightly as she whipped her arm behind her, blasting the men back. Gasps and yelps could be heard, but no one was harmed. Naruto continued to trot across the bridge with a grin on his face. Wah, what was that? The men questioned but continued chasing. Hinata looked back slightly to see them. There were 7 of the men, all clad in their kingdom's armor. A leaf crest on their chest plate. Helmets were on top of their heads so Hinata could not see who they were. Well, if it's a fight they want, a fight they're gonna get. The man in front unleashed his sword. He placed his gem in the pocket of blade, which brought his sword to an impressive glow. Hia, the man sent his arm down, sending a blast of light at them. They veered to the left, nearly dodging it. The light continued a bit ahead of them before disappearing, slowly dimming out. The horse was panting. It was clearly out of energy. It wouldn't be able to dodge another one of those. Naruto. Hinata. Naruto looked at her with a smile. It would make anyone else possibly pee themselves. It was the most twisted smile Hinata had ever seen, but it made her smile. Her own twisted smile. Before the men could register what was going on, the 2 on the horse jumped off the horse, leaping high into the air. Their shadows disappeared quickly into the darkness above. What the hell? Both figures came crashing back down, sending the horse and their riders back. The men toppled off their horse, landing on the bridge. How? The first one to get up asked. Not how, who? The leader got up, holding on to his sword that beamed. The 7 men stared in horror as the person in front of them was no other than Hinata? The men stood with their swords drawn, facing the 2 people. Hinata stood straight with her chin high, Naruto to her right. His tail and ears were not present. He wanted to watch the interaction without being a distraction. The horses got up, sensing the danger, and ran back to safety. Hinata. How? The angel. The angel is here? Impossible. The men chattered amongst themselves, but never took their eyes off of her. Their stance were defensive. Are you surprised? Hinata questioned with a raised brow. The leader gulped slowly, raising his sword up. Wait, one of the soldier rushed forward. T, that couldn't be her. And why is that? B, because I was banished. Hinata asked with a tilt to her head, mock laced into her words. She even began to poke her fingers together like she used to. She glanced at the men with a flutter to her lashes. The men were not moved. None of them said anything. Why don't you go ahead and tell her? You already know she should be here. She should be dead, correct? Isn't that what you want to say? Naruto chuckled. Silence you. And you. If you are here, that only means that you have become a dark angel. Am I correct? So the prophecy was true. Hinata stared at the men. Her eyes big before she began to laugh. She threw her head back in delight. Are you fucking serious? Are you telling me that the prophecy is only true because of what the king did to me? Naruto. She looked at her servant. A wide smile on her crazed face. Her hands up as if they caught her stealing. Naruto looked at her and smiled. WHAAT irony. The two laughed together. Hinata clasped her hands in front of her. Naruto even went as far as slapping his knee, so it would appear that the whole kingdom did know. Hinata said beauty and laughs. And after all you did for them? Naruto put a hand under his chin. That's enough. The leader slashed a light at them. Hinata and Naruto leaned back a bit, letting the light go straight past them. Humor was gone on their faces. Don't speak ill about our king. He did what he had to do. Just like all the kings before him. If he didn't damn you, then you would have became the Dark Angel eventually. It's what's bound to happen to all angels. Hinata looked at them with newfound fury. What do you mean by all the other kings before him? The men stepped back, feeling a different kind of dark energy. Dark energy they never felt before. The leader only stared at her. He was the only one that didn't take a step back. Hinata could only think of her mother and grandmother. The angels that came before her. And the angels that came before her mother and grandmother. What the hell do you mean? But no one said anything. Hinata was starting to get angry. She looked at Naruto. He only stared ahead. He looked at the men, but his eyes weren't looking at them truly. Naruto? Her anger stalling for a second? A sad look on her face. You aren't the first angel to be damned to that abyss. And neither will you be the last. Hinata gasped. She blinked rapidly, imagining her mother and grandmother having their wings ripped away from them as well. And the other angels before them. This is what the kingdom did? Had they been doing this for years? Hinata looked down at her feet. Her chest heaving. She couldn't believe this. Her black tears slowly graced her face. They were going to betray her from the start. Everyone already knew. It wasn't something that just came up. They've been doing this for years. Does her father know? Do the angel above know about this? What about Hanabi? She's next in line to help the world in its need of darkness. Hinata began to breath heavy. Darkness, evil. If she continues this way, Hanabi will be sent down to Earth to stop her. And then betrayed after she's done. They've been used. The moment they were born to the moment they're cast aside. Hinata began to cry, her hands clenching. Naruto stared at her, his eyes getting dark, his ears growing out of his head and his tail enlarging behind him. The crows began to caw loudly as if they were being strangled. Their caws not sounding normal. Hinata looked at the scared men before her and she let out a hateful cry. Realizing her fate, and her angel family, Hinata stepped to Naruto, grabbing his face. Her teeth grinding together in anger. Kill them, kill them, kill them all. Hinata cried, her words smashed together. Her hands shook with hatred. Her head leaned forward, she stared at the ground, her black tears hitting her bare feet. She was too shocked. Naruto grabbed Hinata's hands, slowly bringing them to his mouth one by one. He placed a kiss on both. Of course, my love, he growled, his voice deep, it sounded inhumane. Hinata's wide, hateful eyes looked upon him, his teeth too wide for his human mouth. His eyes a bright blood red with a slit in both of them. His whiskers were black. Before everyone's eyes, Naruto dashed forward. His body contorted wildly and grew. Hinata watched as a red fox stood in front of her. It was a medium-sized fox, one she could ride if she wanted to. It roared into the air, throwing its head back. The men screamed and ran backwards, all except the one. He wielded his light sword and swung it at Naruto. The fox leapt side to side quickly as more light arcs came his way. Die, demon! The man yelled, jumping away from a tail. A rose came shooting across from the bridge. The men had found their bows and arrows on their horses and were back to fight. Naruto's tails came up to block all of the arrows. His tail whipped forward, destroying the last of the arrows on his way. The leader rolled around the fox and whipped his sword at Naruto's legs. Naruto jumped out of the way, landing closer to the other men. He quickly ran towards them, intent on getting rid of the extras. The leader was about to chase him before Hinata stepped in front of him. He would be lying if he said the angel didn't scare him. So much rage and power radiated from her, and her eyes screamed death. The leader stood up, holding his sword up at her. They walked around in circles, neither of them getting closer to each other. Their eyes locked on. Arg! He finally took the moment to lunge forward with his sword held high. He slashed forward at Hinata. She dodged left and right. Her hands burned an angry dark purple. She shot an orb and countered the light sword. Slowly it took a similar form as the sword it came into contact with. She pushed her sword back onto him, sending him back. The man was not about to give up anytime soon. He just hoped his team could handle the other demon. He was ready to die for his kingdom. He stabbed his sword forward and Hinata stepped to the side. The two traded more blows before dashing back from each other. Hinata's face seemed to take on a permanent snarl. She looked disgusting to the man. Once such a beautiful angel had turned to the darkness. To his delight, he had found the woman was not used to wielding a sword. Their dance was one-sided, with him taking the lead. He grinned. Him taking down the dark angel? He might even become king himself if he can get the upper hand on her. He dashed left and threw an arc of light at her. She blocked it with her dark sword, but before she could regain her stance, he was upon her. Kneeling low, he dashed forward with a powerful thrust to her stomach. The sword went straight into her stomach, producing blood from her mouth. The blood rained upon his helmet, and he smiled with glee. Her sword disappeared, leaving a dark smoke. But to his horror, the woman looked at him with a smile on her face, her blood painting her lips like lipstick. Hinata grabbed the mon's shoulders and a dark glow began to radiate around his body. "I've never tried this on a human, so here goes nothing." She smiled wickedly. The man tried to move away but found a darkness pouring from the woman's stomach that held his hands in place on the sword. He began to feel weak, his legs trembled and he fell onto his knees. His hands still on the sword's handle. She stared darkly at him as her eyes peered from under her bangs. The man began to wheeze as he lost the color to his skin. He began to turn pale and his skin began to sink in as if he hadn't eaten in weeks. Hinata, however, appeared to glow and radiate, getting stronger as she drained the man dry, just like she drained all the trees and grass in the forest. "I will destroy everything, and you will be the first of many to fall," she whispered. The sword in her stomach was let go, seeing as the man couldn't even move if he wanted to. His arms dangled to his side and his face looked as though it were a ghost. "And never," he whispered out. "Arrggh." The man began to scream as best as he could. Hinata began to laugh maniacally as her stomach began to heal itself. The torn part of her dress only showed her bare skin where she was once pierced. Draining the rest of his life, the man turned gray and then to dust, crumbling down to her feet. Hinata stared at the pile with a tilt to her head. "Interesting," she sighed, looking towards the end of the bridge. She heard nothing as she stared into the darkness. Stepping forward, she began to cross the bridge. Her hand glowed with her dark purple energy. When she got closer to where Naruto was, she heard crunching noises. She held up her hand, producing more light to see Naruto sitting on top of bodies. He was eating an arm gleefully. "Ah, Konoha may have the best tasting people," Naruto said with a flick of his tail. His ears wiggled delightfully. "Why didn't you tell me?" Hinata looked at him sadly. "Didn't think that was something that was needed to be said after you just got out of hell." Naruto shrugged. "I was gonna tell you, eventually." Hinata sighed, looking at the ground. Caw. Birds began to squawk wildly from in front of them. Hinata lifted up her hand to sse the crows carrying a body towards them. It wiggled and fought with the birds as best as it could. "Let me go." "Ah." The birds dropped the knight right in the middle of the two. The man looked between the two nervously before scooting back on his butt towards the edge of the bridge. Please spare me." Hinata and Naruto looked at each other before a childlike giggle escaped Hinata's lips. "I got an idea." Naruto only chuckled. "Oh God, please no." Naruto was now holding the man over the side of the bridge. His tails were the only thing keeping him from falling. Hinata was leaning over the side with her head in her hands and elbows resting on the stone railing. How far down you think it is? I dunno, wanna make a bet? Naruto asked playfully with a cheeky grin. Hinata tapped her chin slightly, thinking to herself, maybe about a good minute worth of screaming. Ooh. The two looked at each other talking as the man before them continuously screamed his head off. I'll say, a good 2 minutes. That deep? Yeah, the teme is dramatic. Hinata laughed, tossing her hair out her face. Alright, let it rip, Naruto yelled, dropping the man. The two watched as the man disappeared into the darkness below them, all while screaming. Naruto's ears perked up to listen a bit longer as he went. I don't hear anything. Yeah, I didn't even hear a splat. Naruto huffed. Maybe it was a lot longer than that. Hinata sighed, twirling around to set her back to the railing. Oh well, none of us wins. Naruto walked back to his feast. Hungry? I am fine, thank you. Hinata smiled, looking at the bodies. Someday you have to give it a try. Naruto reached down for an arm when Hinata rushed forward. Stop. What? Hinata gulped, holding onto Naruto's forearm. I know this boy. Hinata knelt down, moving the black hair from the boy's face. His soft breaths hit her hand. He was still alive. Okay, but don't you technically know all of them? Naruto gestured around comically. He was stumped that Hinata was stopping him from his hard-earned meal. This one is a little different. He only joined the knights because of me. After I healed him, he came to me with the brightest smile. I am going to protect the kingdom, just like you did. He told me. Hinata's thumb began to caress the boy's red cheeks. Naruto just stared with his hands on his hips. So we're just gonna let him live? I don't know yet. She looked at Naruto with confusion in her eyes. She looked back at the boy. He had matured quite a lot. Konohamaru, Hinata whispered to herself.
That's all for now. If you enjoy this video, then please like, share and do comments.